music from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at acoustichealth.com. acoustichealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And welcome everyone. We are talking about a quantum shift that we can experience in the physical and through our mind, body, and soul. We are talking about a cleanse program that is not your ordinary cleanse program. It truly is a lifestyle change. And as we have seen so far this year, we've been upgrading on many, many levels. And here is another beautiful opportunity to upgrade with a beautiful cleansing process. We're going to talk about that today as my guest is Jonathan Glass. He is the author of The Total Life Cleanse, and he's the co-creator of the Total Life Cleanse program. He comes with a background as a master acupuncturist and also in the Ayurvedic healing arts. Let's welcome Jonathan Glass to Quantum Conversations. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Loren. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is a great conversation that we're going to talk about. I love how you were led to this in your own life, in your own journey of how you healed, you witnessed some healing in your own life, and it's all the background in the many traditions that you've studied. So let's talk about this cleanse here. How did you come up with this Total Life Cleanse?
Great. Yeah, so as a fairly new acupuncturist back in the 90s, I had a colleague who was a chiropractor, and we were on vacation together on Martha's Vineyard out here on the East Coast, and we were talking about what we were calling our difficult patients. And there's nothing like being a holistic practitioner and being really frustrated with helping people. And, there's certain people that no matter what we did, adjustments or herbs or acupuncture, the people some people just weren't making the changes that they needed to make. And so we realized that a lot of this had to do with lifestyle and diet, and people just couldn't make those changes on their own. So we decided to put together a program. It took us probably about 6 months to put it together. And our first program was the 5-week, we used to call it the Total Body Cleanse. And the results with that first group were just so amazing and so striking that it just became a part of my practice. So I've been doing it ever since then.
Good, and you've seen remarkable results. It really is life-changing results. And we're going to talk about the specifics of it because it is more of a plant-based diet, and we've talked about this on this program frequently of the need that many are feeling, moving away from meat. And as we go on our inner journey, some feel guilty if they still have meat or have the cravings for meat. So talk a little bit about meat and going completely vegetarian or vegan, or really what we can do here to bridge?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. That's a really great question because, as you know, and many people are experiencing right now, it can be a very charged issue. It can be a very charged topic. I've been vegetarian since 1982, and so it's been a commitment, and it's not something that's difficult now. But there was at different times a learning curve, and not just about you have to learn how to eat well because it's not a great way to go. So eating well, eating healthy is really, really important. But we do know that on practically every level, it makes sense to be a vegetarian, or at least a 95% plant-based eater. The data is in about the health as it relates to cardiovascular disease, as it relates to diabetes, as it relates to cancer, as it relates to all these modern diseases. The data is really, really, really clear. The most scientific research that has been done proves the safest way of eating. And then, of course, we know of the environmental impact on the environment. The meat industry is by far the most, degrading and devastating industry on the planet, both inside the slaughterhouses and outside. What's happening in every way in terms of what's going on inside the slaughterhouses, what's in terms of the drugs, the medications, the toxins, the poisons, the pesticides. It's a really, really, really unclean industry. And it has great impact on the environment. And of course, devastation in terms of earth, water, all the we require to live to a significant degree by the large agro-animal industry. So, so it's a really significant impact on the environment. And of course, the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about much, although of course we talk about it in terms of organizations like PETA and things like that, but how we put in our bodies, there are sages and sadhus and yogis that can transform anything they come in contact with. But for most of us, we are on a path of personal growth, spiritual development. And when we take the energy into our body of a dead creature, it's tremendously throughout its life. Has probably been very sick. Almost all the chicken from slaughterhouses has various forms of cancer, and we're taking animals into our body. This is a frequency and a vibration that's impacting the physical body, the mind, the intelligence, the intellect levels of denial, our consciousness. So it's really quite a remarkable thing. And then the other thing is when we're taking in violence, we have to go into a certain level of suffering, not just to that animal, but the whole industry. So that's another level of it. So we're taking in that vibration. And, the other thing is as we begin to awaken as human beings on this planet, we start to recognize that life exists everywhere. And what is the nature of that life, which is the soul or consciousness. And every living being has consciousness. In fact, every living being is looking for love and happiness. So if you pat a cow, you pat a dog, you pat a cat, you pat a squirrel, they're all looking for affection. Everyone's looking. So to think that we are so distinct from the animals. We are human beings that are very different in some ways, due to our capacity for rationality, due to our capacity to seek truth, pure love. I mean, there's so many benefits of being human. There's many qualities that we have a great deal of similarity with the animals, including the animals. So to say things like an animal doesn't have a soul, it doesn't feel, doesn't have consciousness, that's just not, there's really no logic in that statement. So I believe personally that in order to evolve personally as individuals and as a planet, we have a plant-based diet. And one thing I used to say, if as long as we are slaughtering animals, there will always be war. Because if we really want peace, the thing is we have to look deeply into what is obstructing peace on this planet. And if we have these thousands of animals are being slaughtered every single day, how can we really expect to have peace? So,
thank you. That is beautiful. We actually are having some technical audio difficulties on your end. It may be, I don't know if it's a Wi-Fi connection. Could you call in? I just resent that to you on your email, Jonathan, the phone number.
Sure.
And I'm going to recap what you said there. You're welcome to stay on the line here as you dial in, and then we can disconnect you. I'll disconnect you here from this end. That makes me never... I mean, yes, when we look at it that way from a level of consciousness, it is not desirable to eat meat. I know that sometimes people, we've heard that if you have a certain blood type, it may be necessary for you to eat meat or to listen enough to your body that if you feel that you need to eat, if you need to eat meat to honor that and go for it. So it's all part of a journey. And I think what I love the most about this program is that it is a bridge, when we're going to talk about how we go through that cleanse there, Jonathan, but
sure.
When we bridge when we go through a cleanse like that and your cleanse, we could say it's gentle. If someone is eating a lot of, let's say, junk food, they may have a more difficult time with it. But for the most part, it is a gentle experience. And when you come out of it, the tendency to fill your tank back up with that old stuff is not so high, right? We want to kind of be pure anyway. So there could be, so for those, I guess it's important not to feel guilty if you still feel that you need meat, right? But what you just said there was, it's so true. It is so true. And when we think about that and contemplate it, I think there's a natural tendency to cut back on that.
Absolutely. I really didn't address that one point. That's a really important point. And I think it's important to, one, have compassion to yourself for where you're at, and two, for people that don't eat meat, to have compassion and understanding for people that are at least making an effort to eat less meat or no meat. There was a time when most of us, sometimes I hear people being very critical, and I like to remind them, well, there was a time when you were struggling with the very same thing. And sometimes people forget that there was a time in their life, whether it was a year ago or 10 years ago, that they were going through the exact same process and the exact same realizations and considerations that were, occurring in the consciousness. And we have to remember that, most people on this planet for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years have included a great deal of meat in their diet. I mean, there are cultures that eat far less, no doubt, and usually those are the ones that live the longest. But, it's sort of in our, not quite in our DNA, but it's part of it's in our ancestral lineage of eating animal food. It's just that in this particular age that we're living in, it's gotten so degrading and so devastating for health, body, mind, and spirit, and the planet, that it's really something we have to take a good look at. I mean, the Native Americans ate meat, and they would travel along the land, and sometimes they would, and sometimes they wouldn't, but they would respect the animals. And the way that we're living right now, there is very little respect of animals. It's gotten to the point where they are just commodity, and that affects consciousness. It's a level of denial, and if we want peace, we're going to have to shift that type of thinking. And but we are bodies, and some bodies are used to eating animal protein or animal meat, and they have to develop strategies and ways of being satisfied, especially in the beginning, so that they don't feel the need or the desire for the meat as much. And there are strategies that I recommend to people for that.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yes, thank you. It makes sense. All right, and peace on earth comes from that. So
exactly.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the program then, because there's some aspects to it. And how does it work? Tell us.
Yeah, so the way it works is that people come together either in person or virtually, and they get, we meet about 4 times for a couple hours, and over a 28-day period. And during that time, I give full online support. We have about 30 videos. I have a book, and they get some really great, high-quality, supportive products for a smooth and gentle detox process. And there is a step-by-step process where there's sort of 4 phases of the program. And the first phase, you're gently letting go of some things, whether that's red meat, whether that's coffee, whether it's alcohol, whether it's wheat, sugar, dairy. So we're letting go in the first week. And the second week, we're going deeper. We're doing a lot of a dish called khichdi, which is an Ayurvedic dish. It's a traditional cleansing dish. And we're also integrating some smoothies. And there's a lot of education in the process. So, the mind and the intellect also need to be nourished and cleansed so that we understand why we're doing this. There's a lot of Ayurveda, which is the wisdom of knowledge of medicine from India. And it's very common sense. And sometimes when we just hear the knowledge in a very straightforward way, then it appeals to the mind, it appeals to the intellect, and then it's much easier to do the things that we're being asked to do. And so it's a 4-week period. The next week we go a little bit deeper. We dive into greens. We dive into lots of veggies, a ton of veggies, and we're really lightening up the diet. At that point, I do recommend whether someone wants to be a vegetarian or not, when the cleanse is over, that week they're 100% vegetarian. And we're actually vegan because we're doing no dairy at that time. So, a cleanse is a cleanse. We are cleansing from many, many things on many levels. And so that's one of the things that we're able to do during that time. And then the last week, we're gradually coming out of the cleanse. And all along, we're doing things like a media fast. We're minimizing our exposure to media. We are increasing our meditation. There's some very simple meditation techniques that I recommend, breathing techniques that are really helpful in aligning your intention of your health and body, mind, and soul with the cleanse process.
Really, I love that. It's like a retreat. It's an inner retreat,
Exactly.
much more than a cleanse. And
right.
When we do this, what's very interesting is when we lighten up this diet, it's almost like a slow down, because there's so much. I call it a slow down because back in the day, if we were fasting, it's called a fast, but what happens to our psyche is really like a slowdown. We have a lot more time. And so as we go through this, it's a very inward journey. And there's great insight that can come out of this as well. Do you find that you get some people could call it downloads, or you have epiphanies or aha moments that can actually move you forward on your path and dreams.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a lot of couples tend to do the cleanse together, and this is happening more and more, which I'm really happy to see. Years ago, it was usually just the wives, honestly. Far more women were doing it, but these days, a lot of men are joining us as well, which is really awesome. And so there's a nice balance, and people are definitely. I think one of the first things that happens is first just recognizing how powerful making dietary and lifestyle shifts can really be. I mean, some people really have no clue that that's even a possibility. And then when they realize that, my gosh, I'm getting older, a lot of, say people in their 40s and 50s, they're starting to notice the impact of aging. And I meet so many people who have sort of just accepted that, okay, it's just all downhill from here. And then for many people, it's almost like a rebirth in the sense that when they start taking responsibility for their health and body and mind, there's a renewed enthusiasm for life, a renewed perception, a renewed connection with, life has meaning. It's not just about work. It's not just about, getting the kids through college or whatever. There's a lot of meaning. And we find that people get quite excited and enthusiastic about life again. And that's really wonderful to see. In Chinese medicine, there's something called the hun, and the hun it resides in the liver. And the hun is the part of us that is excited about life, enthusiastic, wants to learn, wants to grow. It's like a little kid who's very excited about everything. And sometimes when the liver gets stagnant, and it can get stagnant for lots of reasons, emotional reasons, but even literally toxins, the toxins of life, can put burden on the liver. And when that happens, we lose our zip for life. We lose our zest for life. Or it's that much harder to be enthusiastic and creative and visionary and continue to move forward in wonderful ways in our life. When the liver gets stagnant, when the liver gets tired, we tend to get irritable, sluggish, tired. Doing a cleanse relieves a lot of that. So it opens up not just the physical eyes, but the visionary eyes for what's possible. So it's a wonderful thing to watch people go through it.
Yes, okay, so the detox process, the cleanse, can you explain a little bit how that works for those who may not know? This is not a fast, right? Because
Correct.
We're eating, so maybe you can explain how this allows the body to detox. There's we could eat special herbs or a bunch of cilantro. So the diet is really important. So how we detox, but then also how do we deal with the cravings that may come up?
Yeah, that's true. Cravings will definitely come up. So I think I'll actually answer the craving question first too, because a lot of people are concerned. They think, oh, I can't do this. And the cravings really, the intense cravings, usually are in the first couple days. And if you can get through those first couple days, then you're usually, you're on a roll, and that's what happens. I've seen over the years, and I used to have, there would be people that would be going through the cleanse, and I just would wonder, my gosh, can this person do this? I mean, they're coming from a place of absolutely no interest in this type of thing, but their husband or their wife or their friend kind of dragged them along, or they're just unhealthy and they're just trying anything. But sometimes it seems that this quote type of person can't do it. But I don't think like that anymore, because over the years I have seen people that I just thought it would be so difficult for them. But what I've learned is that the human spirit is really resilient, and if we're focused, and if our intention is to feel better, And whether that's feeling better physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if we have some desire to do that, if we're given the tools and if we have the right association, and that's one of the beautiful things of the cleanse is having that support of other people, like-minded people, or other people that are wanting more in their life as well. It's a magical thing. Something magical and mystical happens. So it becomes far easier than one might expect. Many people, there's a handful of people that can really do a good solid cleanse all by themselves. I mean, it's possible, but it's rare.
It takes discipline.
It takes discipline, and also if you feel a little sluggish or a little tired, the mind could say, oh, something's wrong with me, or is this bad, and then you just give up, or you're scared or something like that. So having some guidance and some support with somebody to help you through that is really, really important. But yeah, as far as the detox part goes, first of all, we have to understand the body is always detoxing. That's one of the natural functions of the body. In fact, usually between around 11 at night and 3 in the morning, that's when our body likes to detox the most. And it's doing that automatically anyway. So when we relieve the body of the burden of many of the things that we do that actually increase that toxicity, then the body can get down to work. So if we're eating light at night, if we're eating cleanly, or if we're avoiding the foods that put stress on the liver and put stress on the large intestine, put stress on the cardiovascular system, if we eat in such a way that we're putting less burden on the body, then the body naturally will automatically do what it's designed to do anyway. So we're really just removing the obstacles that are causing inflammation, that are causing stagnation, that are causing fatty liver, fatty cells in the body. So by doing that, everything starts working better. That's the first layer of detoxification, really. And then we're adding a few substances, like you mentioned, some wonderful herbs. And herbs, remember, are just concentrated foods. And they have very specific actions, some of which might stimulate the first phase of liver detoxification and the second phase of liver detoxification, which means grabbing onto toxins that have been stored in the liver for many years, taking them out of the body safely. And when the liver starts functioning at a higher level, not just physically but mentally and emotionally, people start feeling better, and the body starts draining itself of toxins. So, that's sort of it in a nutshell. And, there's a lot more science to that, but we get into that in quite a bit of detail during the cleanse.
Yes, and so we're going to talk about the support that you offer, because this is more than a usual cleanse. I really love the fact that the support is there. The classes that you do on a group level, of course, people get the book, but to be able to experience something and share it with another person, or to hear how other people are going through that process, is very important and very helpful. So when you say it's a blessing that you see couples doing it, that's because the support is there. It's so much easier when we do have someone else to do it with. So we can talk about the support that you offer as well, but let's talk about the actual process. What are we eating each week? I mean, we are lightening it up, right? And then there's some supplements that you use. This goes into the Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine that you're familiar with and that you're studied in. So what are we eating?
Okay. Yeah, so again, like I said, what we do is we have an on-off list, the on list and the off list. So the first week we're eliminating, we call it the elimination diet, and the biggies are going to be wheat, dairy, sugar, and then coffee, alcohol, and we have good substitutes, so it's people get over it quickly. So many people, for instance, and coffee is not an evil substance, but many people are addicted to it, and many people rely on it too much for energy. So it's a really good thing to cleanse from coffee from time to time. And some people actually resonate okay with coffee, and some people it's really not good for them. And that's something that we can discover during the cleanse. So the first part of it is really elimination diet. Get those things out of the diet that are very common food sensitivities that tend to cause inflammation And of course, the regular old junk food, that's a given, the sugar, the alcohol, things like that. And then we're also adding lots of greens and leafy greens especially. And the first phase is something called khichdi. And khichdi is an Ayurvedic dish, and it's made up of very specific spices, including turmeric and cumin and coriander. And we're adding some basmati rice, some mung beans. Mung beans are a very digestible bean or lentil that is far more digestible than lentils, regular lentils, or split peas or things like that. And for those people that are concerned about protein or that type of thing, it's a great source of protein. And so we're doing that. The second week, we're eating a lot of khichdi, and we may add in some cultured vegetables, and we're also adding a really high-quality smoothie with some really good plant-based nutrients in that smoothie. So we're basically eating khichdi, and there's a lot of different recipes, different varieties of khichdi. We're adding different veggies. We're adding lots of greens to that khichdi during that week. So, and that's very gentle. Part of the cleanse is about simplifying the diet. So you can make a big batch. You can have it last for a couple of days. It just makes life really, really easy. And it's really tasty. I would say 99% of the people who go through the cleanse love it. And there's, for somebody that doesn't, then there's always alternatives. We figure that out. Each day of the cleanse, we have recipes as well. And then the third week, we're going to dive into, especially in the warmer weather, if it's warm enough, cleansing is typically best done in the fall and the spring. And so a lot of greens, a lot of veggies. We're talking lots of soups. Primarily, we're going to be doing veggies and smoothies in the third week. And that's really lightening up the diet. And what happens is that by then, because you've lightened up so much, it's kind of like your body's capacity to create energy has really shifted. So, for instance, somebody who's used to eating a lot of meat in the first week, by the third week, their body's metabolism and their capacity to utilize energy and extract protein from plants is enhanced. And those people find that, my gosh, I just don't feel like I need to eat as much meat as I used to. And so they function really well. In fact, sometimes people in the third week, their energy skyrockets, and they just feel fantastic. And if it's not skyrocketing, what also happens is that people just feel much more balanced and even. Their energy is just sustained throughout the day. It's far less up and down. We're going really busy, and then crashing a little bit. Where by week 3, people's energy tends to be very steady, very stable, and the mind becomes crystal clear, which is a really beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. So then by week 4, you're just really on your path because you've got the energy back. I was going to ask, what about the energy? So it seems like really the first couple of days, if someone could get over, right, the first 3 days, that must be the hardest.
Exactly.
It would seem.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly the most, in one sense, it's the most difficult part of the cleanse. And for many people, it's not even that difficult. It's not that difficult. It's
You're
a
still
mindset.
eating food.
It's a shift.
It's a mindset, yes.
Right. You're eating food, and we do talk about timing of eating. I mean, there's an art to eating, and there's some misconceptions about optimal ways and timing of eating. So we do talk about that. Some people intentionally want to lose some weight during the cleanse. So there's ways to do that, but I do not recommend starvation, that kind of thing. We want people to learn how to eat really well because, starving, even if you lose a few pounds, if you don't know how to eat when you come off of the cleanse, then the tendency will be to go back to, right what you were doing before the cleanse. So we talk a lot about timing, how to eat, conscious eating. There's a whole section on how to eat consciously and in a way that your nervous system serves the body so that you can optimally digest your food. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that is a whole nother thing.
Absolutely.
It's actually called the psychology of eating, right? And
yes.
we are engaging our parasympathetic nervous system.
Exactly.
When we take a moment to sit and relax, that's really key. And so you're talking about that, where we're not rushing. Like if we are driving through a drive-through and eating food on the go, that's actually causing our body to be in flight or fight response.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
So pack on a few
what I always
pounds.
say to people is, if you're eating the healthiest broccoli on the planet while you're running from a tiger in the jungle, you're not going to digest it very well.
Doesn't matter what you're eating.
And it's the same thing with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have a hard time conceiving these days, and part of that can be due to the high stress levels. So I sort of bring that in too. If you're trying to conceive while you're running from a tiger in the jungle, it's not going to work very well either.
Mm-hmm.
Because the body's nervous system is telling us to some degree we're in danger, or we have to be alert for something else. But eating, sleeping, mating, things like that are all meant to be done in a very, in a predominantly parasympathetic state, like you mentioned.
So never eat standing up.
Exactly. Yeah, eating standing up gives the body the message that there's something more important or urgent here than eating.
Mm-hmm.
So culturally, especially in the West, we don't have as much of an appreciation for these very simple, ancient wisdom gems, like sitting down when you're eating, breathing while you're eating, chewing more, lighting a candle, keeping your feet on the ground, not talking as much while eating. And also, one thing that's really important that we always emphasize is to not bring up stressful events while you're eating. Give it another time.
Yes, and certainly don't have an argument when you're eating.
Exactly.
Okay.
Quickly, we'll lose your appetite quickly.
All right, and so you've got many, many videos as well that are online, in an online course as additional support for people using this course. I want to talk more about the timing of eating. There is something that's really trendy these days, intermittent fasting.
Correct. Yes. And, there's different varieties of intermittent fasting. The most basic one is giving about 12 to 15 hours of the day while you're not eating. And it's pretty Ayurvedic, actually. So in Ayurveda, they say eat like a prince in the morning, a king or a queen at lunch, and a pauper in the evening. And generally, you want to, have your last meal done by about, ideally 7 o'clock at night. So this is based on Ayurvedic wisdom, but now it's being based on science. So if we go from 7 at night until 8 o'clock the next morning, we're doing intermittent fasting. And the very simple idea is that you're giving your body plenty of time to digest, assimilate, and utilize its own energy rather than just the food for energy. And also doing that, you're giving your body the chance to, for the body's immune system to function, for its detoxification pathways to function. And here's an analogy. If, say, a company, an industrial building has a janitor that comes in every night at 9 o'clock and cleans up for everybody. But say there's a deadline, and so your company has to stay there and everyone's there till midnight. The guy will still come in at 10 o'clock and he'll clean up, but he's really cleaning up after everybody. So the next morning it's not going to be that clean like it typically is. So in the same way, if we eat late at night, then the body's simple and intelligent, and it'll just focus on digestion. So if the body has to focus on digestion while we're sleeping and not focus on the immune system, not focus on detoxification, things like that, then we're going to be missing all those, and repair of tissue, things like that. We're going to be missing all those opportunities because we've eaten late at night. So this idea of intermittent fasting, while the science is kind of cool and it's become very, very popular, it's really what the Ayurvedic wisdom has been saying for thousands of years. And then we add different things like body types, what certain body types might benefit more from a different style, like a kapha body type, which is a very big, strong-boned person. They do very, very well with intermittent fasting. I mean, they can eat one meal a day and do fantastic if they do it right. Where other types of vata or a very airy person, they may not do as well with it. But still, the same principle will be there to eat lighter at night and your largest meal during the day and you know, a fairly light meal in the morning.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that, because we've read some different variations of that.
Yes.
Where you're actually like not eating until 1 in the afternoon, skipping breakfast and that sort of thing.
Right.
I like what you say about 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. to be more in the flow of the day, right? And so the Dalai Lama
that's typically what most people can do. If somebody is wanting to lose weight, it's not, you know, 1 or 2 days a week doing something like that, or eating one meal a day within 24 hours can be a really good thing too, because again, you're giving your body that opportunity to go after its own stores of energy. There's been a lot of issues and a lot of problems that have come up for people because of this idea of let's balance blood sugar, so let's eat every 2-3 hours. And some people have gotten into that mode because sort of this conception that that's how the body maintains even blood sugar. But there's a lot of problems with that, because what's happening is you're not giving the body a chance to figure out how to function on its own. So some people can do that intermittent fasting thing occasionally, where they're going to have longer times and periods in between meals. But the beauty of Ayurveda and beauty of working with a practitioner is that you can individualize it. It's not, you know, this idea that everybody should be able to not eat till 1 in the afternoon. It's really an individual type of thing. But it is a nice tool to know about, and when we're cleansing, that's something that we can discuss, and that's something that I do discuss with individuals, because during the cleanse, everybody has a one-on-one session with me as part of it. So we can identify what ways and strategies we can individualize for that person.
Okay, 1 meal a day. Wow. And you said
in some cases
good.
That's good. Now, with the cleanse, what we do is we'll do 2 smoothies and 1 main meal for some people. Some people will do 2 main meals and a smoothie and 1 smoothie. And so that's sort of we individualize that.
And so then also with this cleanse, the smoothies, is it fruits, like fruit sugar, or are we mostly moving away from the fruits?
You know, we do some blueberries. We do berries. And I actually do not come from a place of being entirely negative towards fruit. I think fruit is a wonderful thing. If we reduce the inflammation by eating clean, then the body's metabolic functions and detoxification capacities will increase. So the so-called negatives of fructose become greatly minimized. That's what I see with people. When people are eating fruit alongside sort of a horrible diet, then the fruit becomes more of a problem, strangely enough. You know, fruit is amazing. The amount of nutrients, phytonutrients, anti-cancer substances, antioxidants that are in blueberries, for instance, are just phenomenal. So to avoid those during a cleanse, to me, doesn't make sense. That's my
well, they are superfoods. Yes, okay.
They're superfoods, exactly.
Wow. Okay, well, I absolutely love the support that you've got in your program. So let's talk a little bit more about your program so we can make it very clear for everyone. I really do love how, you know, it comes with your book. It comes with some cleanse products, and then it comes with videos from you. Even if people do the group program, they still get that personal session with you.
Exactly.
So thank you. I mean, this is a pretty in-depth program that really supports people.
Yes. And the videos are really helpful because a lot of, you know, all the main stages and steps of the of the program are in 5 to 12-minute videos, and you can just pick a subject. Say you wanted to dive into it a little bit deeper, or just be reminded. Some people hear better or hear and see better than they read or whatever. So it's just another strategy. Plus, we have a number of breathing practices and exercise practices that are very easy to learn by watching the videos. So a lot of people really do utilize the videos quite a bit. So that's really helpful. And the Zoom classes that we have as well, where you can get on and just ask questions once a week during your 4-week cleanse, is also really helpful.
Yes. That's just a really good space for people to ask you anything.
Exactly.
And share anything, and once you hear how others are doing it. So each week, and we focus on the diet, and then there's you could literally wake up every morning and get your device out, whether it's your phone or your iPad or laptop or whatever, and sit and watch one of these videos. That inspires and motivates for the cleanse as well.
Absolutely. Yep, you just watch the video, and then we have very specific daily routines that we recommend. And once you get into that, that's a whole other thing too. We even talk about, how the best way to fall asleep and to encourage a good state of mind in the morning, how to set the tone of the morning by what you do in bed before you get up, and what you do just before you touch the ground. So there's all kinds of really wonderful tips based on ancient wisdom principles that are really easy to apply, that can make a really tremendous shift in your consciousness, your intentions, and your ability to actually do the cleanse.
Mm-hmm. Based on ancient wisdom and ancient techniques. And I do love it because I love the word cleanse instead of fast. We know the gurus and the ascetics would do total fasts and just move in that way. But we still get to eat here.
Yes.
And that does make it a little more gentle. So let's talk a little bit about, we were talking about when we go through this process, because we've all done fasts from time to time and maybe juice cleanses and things. And isn't it interesting when the cravings come up? What is your take on that? For me personally, it was, what makes pizza one of the most things to be craved? For me, it was like pizza and fried chicken and French fries.
Yeah,
and I had
oily,
to look
greasy,
at that.
fried stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that's what we think about. But however, at the end of the cleanse, I didn't want anything to do with those items. So I think it was an emotional clearing, actually.
Yeah. It's subtle.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's almost like when you're cleansing, we call it in Chinese medicine and also homeopathy the law of cure. So sometimes these cravings will manifest. It's almost like a stage that you're going through, that there's a way in which you're cleansing the cells in your body, and you're touching a certain area where that pizza or that greasy food was actually impacting the body and its impact on the mind, and you're touching that and you're releasing it as you go through it. It's a really interesting phenomenon, but it's very, very common that at some point you'll just have these random cravings. And even for foods that maybe sometimes people have cravings for foods that they had 30 years ago that they hardly never eat now. But all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm craving, Captain Crunch, something like that. Mm-hmm. It's quite amazing.
Well, that makes sense when you're talking about this cleanse on a cellular level. And when we talk about the emotions that are in the body, that's why this is a cleanse, rejuvenation and healing for body, mind, and soul. Because I actually, during that cleanse that I did, I remembered the reason I liked French fries, it was because it was very independent and liberating to me. My parents would go out to dinner when we were young children, and it was kind of a traumatic childhood as well. So to have them out of the house and for us to be alone was like, wow, how liberating. And do you know, they would ask us, what do you want for dinner? And this was back in the early 70s. We said McDonald's. So McDonald's French fries was actually that emotional liberation, and that's what I saw clearing. Isn't that interesting?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's such a strong connection between, cravings and the mental body and emotional body. So many connections there. So it's nice, and that's a big part of. I mean, like you said, you keep bringing it back to the point, which is really my whole point of writing this book and presenting the cleanse, and even changing the name of the cleanse of something from Total Body Cleanse to the Total Life Cleanse, because it is really about our entire life. It's about who we are as human beings, what we're here for, asking better questions about life and ourselves, and better questions about who am I, why am I here, and also how can I make my life better? How can I step out of the zone of just going along with the sheep of life and being an individual and really being the best you can be, and because the Ayurvedic model that we sort of come from includes consciousness, includes, you could say your soul, your very essence, as part of the cleanse program. And in fact, when we kind of take away the things that obscure your own essence, we start feeling more awake, more present, more aware, more conscious, and even more bliss, more happiness, more connection with ourselves and with others and with the universe. So it's quite amazing what can happen when we make some significant changes. And like you said, it is not a fast. And one of the reasons we do that is because when it's over, we all have to go back. We all will go back to eating. I mean, that's done this for 21 years, and there's nobody who has stopped eating after this cleanse. So people will go back to eating, and the goal really is to create a quantum shift in how we approach our diet, how we approach our life, how we approach our daily practices, and that we have an awareness that all these things have meaning and they matter, and it doesn't have to take, hours and hours out of the day. Some of these things can take seconds, but if we have the right orientation and we have some really common sense wisdom and knowledge that we resonate with, it can make a huge difference in our lives.
Yes, absolutely. And so this is a high vibrational diet as well. I don't even want to use the word diet, but this is what it's mean. This is what we all mean when we say, high vibrational foods. It is the plant kingdom. And plants are actually quite amazing. We've heard on this program, when you have a garden and when you eat from your garden, and this can get really out there, some people say, put your bodily fluid in with the garden, whether that's
interesting.
urine or saliva, then the plants will actually respond and give you what you need from that. So it's really quite fascinating. And so when you look at, and so this is the good news. Let's talk a little bit about tofu and plant protein. There's a lot of shifts in this market. Some say you can't eat tofu anymore from the GMO, but you can get non-GMO, and then there's some who say there's estrogens. So what do we do there with plant protein? Because now on the marketplace you can see, isn't it funny, we like to mimic chicken nuggets.
Right. Yeah, I think even Kentucky Fried Chicken is now having a plant-based version of that. which is funny with the Beyond Meat and everything like that. You know, all those veggie burgers that are coming out, which is quite interesting.
I mean,
So yeah, soy is an interesting topic. Well, first of all, the more digestible form of soy is really going to be in the form of tempeh, because it's been fermented. So because of that, it's been, some of the protein structures have been broken down, so it's an easier form of soy. And yes, on the other hand, soy is one of the most GMO produced, foods on the planet, and I don't recommend that anybody eats inorganic, genetically modified soy, pretty much ever. The soy was sort of this, when I was a kid, when it first came out, it was the greatest thing that could happen. It was said to prevent breast cancer. It was said to prevent prostate cancer. And then it pendulum the other direction. It was like, wait a minute, it's got estrogens in it, so therefore it's going to promote cancer, and it's going to promote prostate cancer. So what they're really found now, the science is really coming out, and that's one of the good things about science, is that it does not promote cancer. Soy will not promote cancer, but genetically modified soy will cause more problems by far than the estrogen in the soy. The estrogen in the soy is it's not going to make, men grow breasts. It's just not going to do that. Having said that, it's not the easiest protein on the planet to digest. Some people have a bit of a problem with it. It may be partly because they've developed a sensitivity because of all the soy that is in food, and they already have a gut that's a little bit compromised, and then soy is a common allergen. So that's a possibility. Soy is genetically modified in many cases. So, people tend to be sensitive to soy, and that's an important reality. But for those people that aren't sensitive to soy, I don't recommend people drinking soy milk. That was what we did in this culture at first, when soy was regarded in a very positive way, where everyone was drinking soy milk, soy protein powder, soy this, soy that, and we just had way too much soy. It was completely unnatural. But a little bit of tempeh, a little bit of soy from reasonable sources, I feel is fine if you're not sensitive to it. It's not going to mess up the hormones by doing that. I just don't see soy as a food that people should be eating, on a daily basis.
Okay. There's enough. Thank you.
Sure.
So there's enough protein, as you discussed. Once we get through this shift through the diet, like by the week 3, our body's metabolism has shifted, and now we're able to extract the protein from the plants. So
Correct.
Plant protein is all the leafy greens.
Absolutely. Anything that has structure has protein. If it has structure, it has to have protein, because that's what protein does. It gives us structure. It rebuilds tissue. So if a plant is a strong and sturdy plant, it's going to have protein in it. And ounce per ounce, broccoli has more protein than cow. Or spirulina has more, ounce per ounce.
Yeah.
Now, it's a little harder to have as much ounces of broccoli than it is, animal meat, but it's a very good source of protein. And legumes, a lot of people have issues with legumes, or, they get gassy or bloated. That's why we recommend the mung beans during the cleanse, because they're so easy to digest. But as we heal the gut, and as the inflammation comes down in the body, then those foods become easier and easier to digest. The legumes, the chickpeas, the lentils, the different black beans, whatever, they become much easier to digest. And those are a rich source of protein as well.
Yes, beautiful. Okay. Well, Jonathan Glass, you have a special offer. It is available at acoustichealth.com/special offers. www.ayurveda.com/Jonathan. And that is a 28-day program with a ton of your support. Really good there. Also a private community Facebook group for people to share on that platform as well. Lots of videos there, personal classes with you. You've also got the option for a personal one-on-one package where that includes actually a total of 5 sessions with you, and then also those group sessions as well. Thank you so much for that. For those who are ready to upgrade in this sense, here is a transformational program. We invite you to take a look at that. Well, Jonathan, as we close our call today, I'd like you to share a little bit about the soul connection, harnessing the power of our soul for healing. There is a correlation here. A spiritual connection is actually a requirement in our world today. Some could say higher consciousness, expanded consciousness, but share a little bit about this, because our healing comes with this soul connection.
Absolutely. So the first thing to think about is the soul is the igniter of the body. So if anybody has ever seen a person die, or been with someone they love as they pass away, it's quite a remarkable difference when that entity, what we call it in Sanskrit, the Atma, or the soul, the self, when that Atma leaves the body, then that body that's there, it's very tangible that person is gone. Whether it's a dog or a human or whatever, that entity is gone. So that consciousness that has been like a lamp igniting the vital force in the body has left. It's just a body. It's just something made up of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So that's number one. So we know that the vital life force is coming from something inside of us. And in Ayurveda, they call it the Atma, the soul, that consciousness. So when we cleanse, we remove, it's kind of like we have all these lampshades covering us, and some of them are painted with dark colors, and so we start removing the lampshades. You could say that's the detoxification. When we remove the lampshades, then what happens is our essence, our internal essence, who we really are as a person, we call that the Svarup, or the essence of the being, begins to manifest and shines through. Where does it shine through? People see it shine through the eyes, through the sound of the voice, through there's photographs now through the Carillion photography, or through the aura. The light that's emanating from the body is coming from that consciousness within. And then as we cleanse, the other thing is when we start to identify more with our inner being than with the physical, then we start also creating a universe or a world that we're no longer being influenced by what one of my teachers used to call skin disease. And skin disease is being, one, overly identified with the body, but it's also over-identified with a nationality, or the color of someone's skin, or the nature of someone's skin. Whether skin disease can also be overly identified as being being attached to the fact that I'm man, or I'm woman, I'm black, I'm white, I'm this nationality, I'm that nationality. Because if we're not making that interconnection, then we have to. We will always identify with the body that we have, and compare it with another body. But as we cultivate a deeper inner awareness of who we are as living entities, that we are that spiritual consciousness, that's who we really, really are. Because we are that, because that which continues after death, that's who we are. The body is like a temporary suit. But the body can be a big obstacle, or it can be a fantastic vessel to help us realize who we are. The body is an amazing tool. It can help us realize who we are, or it can be a tremendous obstacle. And cleansing is an opportunity to reduce the body's tendency to be an obstacle and use it as a super opportunity to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually while we have a body.
Yes. Be in an alliance with your body. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's through that inner connection. I love it. The inner connection that takes us beyond the body and beyond our awareness of the body. That's very deep, and that's why I love this conversation, and I love your Total Life Cleanse program, because it's full gamut of the spectrum of healing and health and well-being, and it does mean the body, the mind, and the soul. So thank you so much, Jonathan. As we say goodbye, I just would like you to share why this is such an important mission for you. You were really on some light and coded mission for the planet.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Lorraine. It's been a really a wonderful pleasure, and I just think what you're doing is so amazing, and the questions that you're asking are just so beautiful. Yeah, it's a mission for me. It's something I've been very passionate about for a long time. At some point in my life, I just was blessed by various teachers, gurus, friends, that really inspired a understanding in me that it's all about love and it's all about our consciousness. And on the other hand, being in denial about the fact that we have a body, that we have a life, that we have to function, we have relationships, we have jobs, we have, material needs in this life. So how do we function in reality and not in denial, and at the same time grow spiritually? And that's really been a real passion of mine. So the cleanse is really a synthesis of how can we still maintain being practical, real, down-to-earth human beings, while at the same time we remove the layers of denial and the layers and the obstacles to really recognizing our true divine identity while we're walking on this planet. And at some point in my life, I just got really clear that was really important to me, and some of the things that I've learned, I just became really passionate about sharing that with others. And we've been getting great results. And, people, the most so-called cosmic to the most so-called ordinary people have done this cleanse. You do not have to be cosmic, and you don't have to be ordinary. You can just be you. And because you're a human being, no matter if you're human, you will benefit from this cleanse, I can assure you.
And you'll become a superhuman at the same time.
Exactly.
An upgraded human. Expanded consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You will expand consciousness, and you will experience the love of your soul. Yes.
No doubt.
Oh, thank you so much, Jonathan Glass. This has been a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I really appreciate your time today. You are an esteemed practitioner and the creator and author of the Total Life Cleanse. Thank you for being here, Jonathan.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Well, if you are ready to go more on your leafy greens and eat some khichdi, then go ahead and do this 28-day Total Life Cleanse. It is the same as a moon cycle, and it is in tune with that cosmic force. So a beautiful program for you with a lot of support from the esteemed Jonathan Glass. Again, that special offer is available at acoustichealth.com/special offers/Jonathan, and it is also available on the webpage that you're listening to this episode on. We invite everyone to check it out. Well, thank you, everyone. It is time now to really have fun and dance our way to the cosmic heart. Enjoy. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe, music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.